welcome to Phazon Labs, powered by the World 1-1 Podcast Network. I am, as always, your host, Larry the Bearded Wonder. Joining me this week is our special guest from our community, Connor Pearson, also CrimsnPaladin on Twitter. Connor, say hi.
Hello.
So Connor gets the distinct privilege of bringing us the first post-Dread World Phazon Labs pitch for a new Metroid game, and he says he's got something for us. So, Connor, I'm gonna pass the mic over to you, and I am excited to hear what you've got and where we might be headed in this post-Dread universe.
Okay, so first of all, let me just say this idea is for a much smaller game than usual, but there is a reason.
Nothing wrong with smaller.
Yep. Okay, so let's set the scene. So it starts off on another typical space planet with a Federation ship coming in. From there, we get a brief little snippet. Basically, this ship has been sent in to investigate some suspicious activity happening on the planet below. From there, it goes into orbit. It starts coming down, giving off some readings and stuff, and all of a sudden, it's shot down.
Okay.
And from there, we cut to the wreckage and stuff, and from it emerges one lone Federation trooper. From there, who is the main character? And so from there, we find out what happened, what's going on this planet. You with me so far?
I'm here.
Okay. Now,
I'm interested in the fact, first and foremost, that where we're not even following Samus as the main for this. That alone has grabbed me.
Wait till you see where I'm going. So from here, there's two ideas. There's one I came up with pre the Dread announcement, and another one I've come up with more recently after I've beaten Dread. So I'll just start off with the first one, since that's the more fleshed out one. So basically, to no one's surprise, you kind of stumble across this secret base full of some sort of brand new enemy. Not exactly space pirates, but reminiscent of them.
Okay.
And, as you explore this base, basically it's clear they're gearing for war. And so basically you'll spend most of the game gathering intel and just trying to find a way to get back to base so you can get off the planet and warn them. So it's a lot more stealthy. I'm thinking something akin to the ending of Zero Mission, where you're, stuck as Samus without the power armor.
Okay.
Except you have an assault rifle and can take a bit more, so you can, at least fend for yourself. Something kind of like, I guess, a little bit of like Metal Gear Solid, where, you still want to do stealth. That's the way to go, but you can at least not die immediately.
Okay.
From there, you find... And another thing is that combat-wise... Sorry, I'm going all over the place, but...
Oh, you're all right.
Yeah, so combat-wise, you'd be stuck with your typical, your standard-issue assault rifle. And I'm thinking we could have some fun with different kinds of upgrades to replace the typical stuff. So, like, instead of your typical missiles, you'll get grenades. Just something to... I want to focus on this trooper not being Samus. Because I think it would be fun to play as a character set in a very similar situation. Totally, but you're not the main character.
Right. You know what this reminds me of just a little, just at least at a glance, is Shadow Complex.
I imagine. I have not played that. I want to. I just haven't gotten around. Yeah, I'm kind of going for that sort of vibe.
Okay.
Anyways, where was I? So, yeah, and another thing, and this would be like the sort of selling point, or like, I guess, the gimmick, basically. Mm-hmm. So, whereas Samus is full on, countering and going, just running through areas as fast as possible, your trooper would be more That's the word I'm looking for. Tactical, taking its time and trying to place shots. And so to do that, I think it would be interesting to introduce cover. And at this point, I should mention, I'm thinking this game being in 2D.
Okay.
So basically, just like at certain points, you could hide behind pillars or like little raised objects that you could vault over. And you could also use that for stealth, too. Where, if you're trying to sneak up an enemy and they're about to turn, and you can just hide in the shadows behind just in time. Kind of like the Phantom Cloak in an Emmy section in Dread.
Okay.
But less, less whenever you can, just when there's the opportunity. Anyway, so you play through the game, and that's the sort of the gameplay loop. You make it to each section, looking for things and gathering parts and information to, just get a communication device or something going.
Okay.
And eventually you'll discover how the ship is shot down, which will be just from, a giant big laser beam. And you don't do anything with that yet. But anyway, so you do all that stuff, plots unveiled, and then you get to the end of the game, which is at this point you're able to reach, Federation headquarters or whatever, and you warn them of the threat, and good news, there's a ship on the way. Unfortunately, this ship has been detected by the enemy, and they're charging up their big laser. So in the grand finale, you have to race against time to destroy the laser so the ship can come down.
Okay.
And sorry.
No, you're all right.
And from there, so you're running through trying to sneak as fast as possible, and you manage to destroy the ship, or destroy the laser. And I'm thinking this will bring the attention of a big bad, possibly a future boss, and he mortally wounds you and flies off. You can't, so it's like a boss fight, but you can't really beat him. It's just one of those unwinnable things.
Right, it's a fixed outcome.
Yeah, exactly. And oh man, I jumped ahead. But I was thinking, in his dying moments, he's able to destroy the laser, and as the ship comes in. And then we hold on that image of the wounded soldier just lying against whatever. And as the things begin to blacken, we see Samus's ship come in. She was the ship that was coming in that you managed to save.
She's your extraction team.
Yeah. And as that ends, I imagine that it would actually lead into a new Metroid game.
Ooh.
So you go from there. She investigates that area because of the explosion, and from there she learns about the fight, and she is the one to properly finish it. All of this was just a prequel to that.
Right. It's functionally a prologue to it. Okay.
Exactly.
I like it, actually.
All right. And this is all the idea I had before I played Red.
Okay.
And I've come up with a slightly different premise to this idea. So you're back to, your ship has just been downed. And you managed to pick up a signal that you go towards now. Oh, I guess I should say spoilers for the ending of Dread.
We're officially post-spoiler at this point, so you're good.
Okay. Just making sure. So, and as you go through, you find this ruined complex. But it's recently ruined. Sparks are flying, shrapnel's everywhere, animals are loose. It's not... This just happened like an hour ago, maybe, or something. Hours.
Okay.
And so all sorts of weird... You come across all sorts of weird creatures going on. And your character will go to various computer terminals in what appears to be, just trying to find out what's going on, trying to download the data and stuff. And as you go on, you'll kind of find out this was some sort of weird research outpost, trying to do your typical genetics things.
Mm-hmm.
And you go on and you fight a big boss. This one's more typical to your average Metroid game.
Okay.
But more and more things start to get a little bit weird. Things just don't quite line up. Like your character will start destroying various data stations and whatnot for whatever reason. And things get really weird when you actually meet a fellow survivor. A wounded soldier who, managed to make his way into the base just to find some shelter.
Right.
And what I'm thinking is that for this point, you get the option to either, carry him around, leave him for dead, or kill him.
Ooh.
And yes, and this is the point where you're wondering what's going on. And then it gets a little bit further down, and it becomes clear you are tracking something that is emitting the signal. It is a thing. And you get closer and closer to it until you come to a clearing and it has Samus's ship. And, you're about to, set up a recon point, it looks like, when all of a sudden Samus appears behind you and just says something along the lines of, "Looking for me?" And then at this point, it's revealed I'm sure a lot of other M fans are going to hate this, but I can't think of a better way. You're basically a deleter. You're working for the Shadow Federation, whatever.
Okay.
And you were there to clean up this mess that was going on, but Samus was and this is sorry.
No, you're good.
Basically, it turns out Samus was behind everything. She's the one who just wrecked the base because it turns out it was actually a whatever this shadow government thing is going to be called. She's behind that, or she's going to war against them, and she has just been wrecking this research facility, after finding out about it, finding evidence. And better yet, she's the one who shot down the ship using her Metroid powers. Because that's just, she has the big murder beam now, and so
Does she still, though, considering the way Dread ended?
I would imagine I imagine from this point on it's going to activate a lot like a rage mode, or I've seen people call hyper mode. I don't think it's going to be as at will as that, but I don't really see Mercury Steam, assuming they'll continue with this stuff. I don't see them introducing Samus has Metroid powers and just removing that entirely. Like, yes, because of the X parasite she absorbs, she goes back to her, regular suit, but I don't think that necessarily means it's gone.
I don't know. I was kind of under the impression from that final story beat that DNA from the vaccine is wiped out, the X are gone, the Metroids are gone, and that's it. That it's like we're talking full clean slate universe, but there's nothing absolutely definitive on it. It's still conjecture. Yeah. So there's, I would say it's not to negate. I was just kind of curious to hear your take on it, given that, the way it ended kind of leaves that open to speculation.
Yeah, no. And I think this is going to be the new whole is Samus running from the Federation talk that, people had with Fusion. And obviously that didn't really carry forward with Dread. But I do think that's going to come back eventually. I think Mercury just wanted to, focus on this Chozo story they came up with, which I think was a good call.
Yeah.
I think adding the Federation would have been a little too busy. But
Right.
so like going back, I'm thinking like at this point, this is just all setting up that Samus is now at war against this corrupt Federation. And going back, I think it would be cool to have a brief boss fight against Samus, like an actual proper boss fight. But we can't win because she's Samus and we're just a trooper. Like, at no point would that really work in our favor.
Right. It's again a fixed outcome.
Yeah. But I don't. Instead of us dying, I think it'd be cooler to like Samus just give a little speech that just goes, tell whoever you're working for, I'm coming for them next. And then that's just the note it leaves off of.
Yeah.
And, that would just get us hyped for a proper Metroid 6.
I'm here for it, actually. I like the thought. I like the idea. So I would totally be down for the next spectacle to be really getting into Samus going in and cleaning house on the Federation and all their dirty bullshit that they've had going on. So, but I mean, honestly, the lack of that piece of the story was probably one of my only real letdowns of Dread. Is I was really excited to see where and how that goes, and then Dread just didn't really touch any of that. So, but that might just be me. So this idea actually gets me really jazzed on that concept because, like I said, it hits that one thing that I was hoping for that wasn't there out of all the other things. So, but no, I like the thought a lot. So, like I said, to me, it definitely has it sounds like it would have a very Shadow Complex feel in terms of gameplay and kind of scaling your character's power, and abilities to something a little more pedestrian than what Samus is normally rocking. But my question then is, do you keep with the same kind of Metroidvania formula in terms of, world design and hook, or do you do something a little more straight action for this?
I was thinking, because I'm thinking this is like specifically a sort of side game. I'm not thinking that. And so I think it would be better to tell a more linear story. I mean, it can still be somewhat open-ended, especially if we go to like my first half of the idea where you're just exploring a base.
Right.
But I don't think this would be too harmed by just, making it a lot more linear, something maybe akin to Fusion, where you're definitely supposed to go through these areas, but you can go through again if you want later down the line.
I would say almost maybe something more like Samus Returns layout, where it's very much more straight line directed.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Might be a good fit. Just my thought. And because we love to talk about it here, what kind of music do you hear playing in the background in your head for this?
I was thinking something akin to, your traditional Metroid music, except you have a little bit more of that military flair. What are they called? The snare drums or whatever. Going through. And maybe just a little bit of synth, because I'm sort of a sucker for that stuff.
Okay. I can get behind that. I'd say something with definitely the more military march and drill, I think could be a really neat idea to play around with in terms of using that to kind of set a certain ambiance and feel. they haven't really played with before.
Yeah. Yeah, and overall for like the tone especially, where in a typical Metro game, it's you're alone on a world.
Hmm.
I'm thinking the tone would be more specifically something along the lines of you're alone behind enemy lines, kind of like what Halo ODST did.
Yeah.
At least just in terms of tone. It's a very similar loneliness, but it's a lot more immediate, I think.
Right. I say, I would think too, maybe a neat way to kind of push the story forward as it goes is that you're getting radio transmissions from from HQ kind of feeding you directives, but you can't, your character can't respond back so as not to, give away location. But maybe you start hearing some things in the background of some of those transmissions that start giving you a couple of clues that something's getting kind of skeevy and not quite on the up and up.
Oh man, like what if there were other survivors that are killed off before he can reach them?
Right. And honestly, that'd be a great way to move the character through the story some too, even would be,
yeah.
You're getting that distress call. It's like, hey, I'm at, and by the time you get there, that signal and that trooper's dead and gone.
Yeah,
So.
man, that'd be intense.
I say just because it's set up for something bigger doesn't mean it has to be, not just epic on its own.
Yeah, no.
So, we're, is there any more you want to tag on this, or do we want to give it a title and put a pretty bow on it and slide it under Sakamoto's door?
I think I've gone through everything I wanted to say about it.
So what do we call this bad boy?
Oh, I've had this one for a while, so here we go. I'm thinking we call it Metroid Lost Soldier.
I'm here for it. I'm not opposed by any means. I do want to toss out an alternative just to see what you think.
Oh?
Just gonna go with Galactic Federation behind enemy lines.
Oh,
Because at this point we're not even playing as Samus, and I'm kind of coming to terms with being okay with the idea that maybe we don't necessarily call any of the future games Metroid, since at least hypothetically that saga between her and the species is closed. And so it kind of opens up and plays with, but at this point too, for this particular prologue, since we're not even playing as Samus, we're playing as a Federation trooper, I think it would fit well.
That would too. You could even just sort of randomly release it on the eShop, just call it that, and then have the whole PT twist where, surprise, this was a Metroid game all along.
Right.
You just weren't playing as Samus.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool.
I feel like that's a little harder to pull off that surprise, though, given that there's definitely an established kind of art direction and style for most everything in this particular universe that we're playing with, especially like Federation troopers. So that gets maybe a touch trickier, but maybe if he's going in out, without armor or anything, and it's literally just a stripped down trooper in plain clothes basically to try and sneak and get behind enemy lines, you could possibly pull that off so that you're not giving it away with that Federation trooper visual style right from the jump.
Yeah, that could be it. I was just thinking, it could look similar, but
yeah,
just because things look similar doesn't always mean that they're the same thing. But no,
right.
Yeah, it would definitely be a lot harder to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
But there are definitely ways I think it could happen.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of kind of backdoor announcing a new game in the series that way. And I think this obviously would have more meat on its bones than like PT did, but
Oh yeah.
so it's one of those things that sneaks out the door for maybe 15-20 bucks on the eShop, and then word starts getting around, holy shit, look what they did. So I mean, I'm into it and I'm here for it. So well, I want to say thank you very much, Connor, for coming and hanging out with us in the lab this week. And one of these in a future episode, we'd love to have you back and maybe talk about where this prologue ends up leading into for a full-fledged Samus 6 at this point. 'Cause I don't know that we get to call it Metroid anymore. So, but any parting thoughts you want to tell the folks where to find you and how to get in touch?
I'm just CrimsnPaladin on Twitter, without an O. Yeah, that's just where I usually hang out social media wise. So that's about it. Hope you guys are enjoyed Dread as much as I did, because man, that was crazy. And yeah, I'd love to be back on sometime, so I'll let you know when I have some more ideas.
Yeah, definitely, man. The inbox is always open, and the same goes for anybody listening. If you've got a great idea for a new game in the series, and in our now just, it's so weird to think that we are in a post-Dread world. Like, it's out there, it exists. There's officially new canon. That's so bizarre to think about. But our inbox is open over at Phazon Labs on Twitter. You can catch this show and all kinds of other good stuff in the World 1-1 Network feed at world11.podbean.com, all spelled out. Or you can look for World 1-1, the RSS Network feed over on Good Pods, which is my favorite place to go listen to podcasts, and frankly, it's kind of the best place to podcast, whether you're making or listening. So, with all that said, thank you to everybody that tuned in this week. Thank you to Connor for coming and hanging out, and we'll see you guys all next week. Have a good one. Peace.
Bye.